Today, we're going to be taking a look at the iPhone 6. Obviously, I'm kidding, calm down. This is the Cubot X9. An eBay seller offered to send this to me for a review, so thanks so much to them. And you can find a link to where you can buy it from them down in the video description below. First off, in the box you will find the phone itself, a quick start guide, a SIM removal tool, a spare screen protector and a cleaning cloth, a 1-amp charger, and a micro USB cable. I was quite surprised to find that it also came with a clear little plastic case, just in case you want a little extra protection included for free. As far as the device itself, it's got a 5-inch 720p display, the MediaTek MT6592 octa-core CPU running at 1.4 GHz, a somewhat surprising 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of built-in storage, a non-removable 2200 mAh battery, an 8 megapixel rear-facing camera that interpolates to 13 megapixels, and a 5 megapixel front-facing camera interpolated to 8 megapixels. It also supports either dual SIM with one micro SIM and one nano SIM, or you can put a micro SD card in the nano SIM slot, which says it supports a max of 64 gigs. I tested it with a 32 gig and it worked just fine. Now before I go any further, I should mention this is a 3G only device, so if 4G and LTE is a must for you, you're probably going to want to look elsewhere. Still with me? Let's get started. I've been using this device as my daily driver for a couple of weeks now, and I think it did an alright job. I can't exactly say that I was blown away by it, but for everyday usage and some light gaming, this thing does decently well. It comes running KitKat, and I haven't found any indication anywhere that it's going to receive a Lollipop upgrade, but still, KitKat's not a bad place to be. It benchmarks fairly well, putting the performance somewhere between the original HTC One M7 and the Nexus 5, so again somewhere between the Snapdragon 600 and the Snapdragon 800. The UI, it's been lightly customized and it looks pretty nice. I ended up switching back over to the Google Now launcher because I do prefer having Google Now available directly from the home screen, but the launcher it came with worked really well. It was very smooth and very fluid. It comes with an interesting feature called Hotknot instead of NFC, where when you've got two Hotknot compatible devices, they can transmit data between using their screens, and no additional antennas or anything are necessary. Sounds interesting, but I don't have any other Hotknot devices to test it with, and being that everything I use is NFC, that was a bit of a downer. Now in terms of build quality, it's very, very plasticky, but supposedly it does have a metal frame hiding inside the body. It's not terribly creaky or anything. I've definitely seen a lot creakier devices out there, but also I should mention, it's only 6.3 millimeters thin, so it's very, very thin, one of the thinnest devices on the market. And I was surprised to see that even being that thin and everything, it's not really all that slick in the hand. But like I said before, just in case, it does come with a nice little clear plastic case in case you are clumsy. As far as speakers, the device has one bottom-facing speaker, and it does put out a decent amount of sound that doesn't sound bad. It didn't distort when I turned it up a little bit loud. But it is a tiny little speaker and it's easy to cover up with your hand. If you're holding it, watching a video or playing a game, you might cover that speaker up. I've made quite a few phone calls on this while I was using it and it sounded nice and clear on this end, and other people I called said that it sounded fine as well. Now, even though I don't use multiple SIMs, I do like that this has the option to have a second SIM or to use a micro SD card. Since I recently switched over to a nano SIM though, I was a little bit bummed that the nano SIM tray is the one they use for micro SD, so I ended up having to use a micro SIM adapter. But again, that wasn't really that big of a deal. The camera on this phone wasn't so great. In good lighting, it can take some okay photos and videos, some things that I might share on social media, but more often than not, I found my shots turned out blurry, and in low lighting, it was just grainy and not really usable at all. Additionally, the videos are saved in a 3GP format, which is one I haven't seen and interacted with in a very long time. And the front-facing camera, 5 megapixel camera, would only do 640 by 480 video with the built-in camera. I tested the Google camera on it as well, and either the front or the back would only do 480p video at that point, so very, very weird. Also, I noticed when I was switching between the front and rear-facing cameras, sometimes, not always, but sometimes, it would make a little bit of a clicking sound when going to the back camera, almost like the lens was coming on or something. Not really sure what that was. Now, data connectivity is something I should definitely mention as well. As I said earlier, 3G is the best you're going to get out of it no matter where you are. I use Cricket Wireless, which means I'm automatically throttled down to 8 megabits per second on AT&T's network anyway, which kind of sucks, but it does mean that when I'm limited to 3G, it's not that big of a drop for me. I tested it several times, and download speeds on 3G here were about 3 to 4 megabits per second, so while that was slower than LTE, it was still usable for me. Granted, it's not 30 or 50 megabits per second or anything, but it's 3G, you're not going to expect that. It's definitely good enough for some web browsing, email, social media, and even some light YouTube usage. I know this because while I was visiting my in-laws, even on my LTE phones, we were stuck with HSPA+, so I spent 3 solid days watching YouTube on that connection. Anyway, the last thing that I really wanted to make sure to mention, the elephant in the room, battery life. As I mentioned earlier, it does come with a 2200 milliamp hour non-removable battery. Definitely not amazing. That said, I never ran into a day where the phone outright died on me, but I did come pretty close on a couple of occasions. End of the night, sometimes I'd be as low as like 15%. But anyway, to wrap things up, would I buy this phone if I were paying for it? Probably not. I'm in a 4G area, an LTE area. This is a 3G only device. Would I recommend that you buy it? Again, I don't really know. If you're looking for an inexpensive device and you live in an area that only has 3G connectivity, this isn't a terrible option, but there might be other options out there that are in the same price range, so just keep that in mind. But that's gonna be about all from me about this device and all from me for today. Remember, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up down below the video, definitely appreciate it. Links to where you can find this on eBay, of course, down in the video description as well. Thanks so much for watching though, and I'll see you again next time.